Everyone, and welcome to the second really exciting webinar for the 4D Evolution webinar series. This webinar series is looking specifically at community engagement, democracy, and how technology is impacting on this. And I'm really excited to have Nivek here today. Nivek has a lot of experience in doing stuff in democracy, and I won't go through it all, but currently she's working for an organisation called Synthetron and also doing her PhD, because one thing's obviously not enough for you, Nivek. And Nivek's PhD is also on democracy and community engagement. So I just wanted to say hi, Nivek, and let you just say hello very quickly to everybody. And in the meantime, for those people who are here online at the moment, I thought I'd start a quick poll and see if people could let us know which state you're from. So if you could, your poll should have come up on screen now. If you could just let us know. Oh, we've got a couple of people from WA clicking in first, which is really exciting, Nivek, because I know that we've changed the time specifically to get the people from WA in on this call. So got a couple of people from Victoria and South Australia are also logging on at the moment. Oh, Victoria's getting ahead. Okay, so we've got people at the moment from every state except Northern Territory and Tasmania. So that's exciting. We've got people all the way across Australia, I guess, coming onto this call. Wonderful. I might just do another really quick poll and just get an idea of what sort of levels of government you're currently working for. So there should be a poll that's come up on screen. And we've also got the opportunity for private consultancy or other, because I know that there are people not in those groups. So at the moment, everyone answering is local government, Nivek.
Okay, wonderful.
For what that is at the moment. Oh, we've got a couple of private consultants coming online, competing with the local government. Okay.
That sounds like a nice mix.
Oh, and some state governments and some others now as well. So very exciting. Okay, well, I might end that second poll. And what I'd love to do is just start with a couple of questions for you, Nivek, if that's possible. Now, if anyone who is here has any questions at the moment, please feel free just to type into the chat. I've just written in hi for everyone, so if you just reply to that, that will get us any questions that you have, and we'll certainly allocate some time at the end of the webinar to answer some of those questions. And and if that's okay, we'll probably broadcast your questions too. So there were a couple of questions that we worked on to start with, Nivek and and we thought we'd do some of the interesting questions that we get in community engagement. I'm really keen to hear some of what that is. So the first question that we had was a specific question about Synthetron, which is where you work now, Nivek. And a lot of people I know have asked if Synthetron is really just a World Cafe run with online technology. So if you have a few seconds just to explain for those people who aren't familiar with it what a World Cafe is as well, and then maybe talk about if Synthetron is that and how it might be different or how it might be similar, that would be really great.
Okay. Well, in terms of the similarity and differences, for me, Synthetron is similar and different to a World Cafe. So one of the key features, I think, of a World Cafe is that it generates a lot of creativity. And the way it's set up is that you usually have people in a room, although I know that there are online World Cafes now, sitting at small tables, usually made to look like they're in a cafe. When I've run them, I've got checkered tablecloths and various things. And people are asked to discuss a particular topic. Now, you can have the same topic, for numerous rounds, or you can have different topics that build on each other. And what people do is that they move from table to table, usually with one person staying in place. And as I said, when I've used them, they really generate a lot of creativity, new ways of looking at things, new ideas, and enthusiasm amongst people, which is great. A Synthetron process also supports creativity and openness. Particularly the openness, I think, because it's an anonymous process, so participants can be honest about their views and their responses to other people's views. There's nobody necessarily having to, worry about, how, the people they're dealing with, personalities. People just focus on the ideas, which is really nice. So for me, a Synthetron session is much more akin to a workshop, where you would put people into small groups to discuss a topic or a question or an issue, and then they report back to the full group. So the way Synthetron works is that any individual Synthetron session, which lasts an hour, can engage up to 1,000 people at one time, because the technology puts people into virtual groups of about 5 that are overlapping. So at any one time, you're only actually talking with 5 or 6 people. A bit similar to a workshop, a moderator sets a topic, although with a Synthetron you can also have polls and you can have follow-up questions. And one of the beauty of Synthetron is that the reporting back happens as agreements are reached in one group. So as one group reaches an agreement on something, the system automatically sends that point of view, that agreement, around to the other groups, and those people can comment on it, score it, whether they think it's, they strongly agree, strongly disagree, or they don't think it's relevant. And so by the end of a session, you really, have a really good idea about what the high-level agreements are. And participants can see those high-level agreements as they go along within their group. They can see them because they get bolded. And there's also a tab that they have access to, which is a summary of everything that's coming out, the high-level agreements. And in addition to that high-level agreements, once the session's over, we've got a record of all of the discussion. So we can actually analyse in depth what people were saying, the language they were using, whether different cohorts had different views, etc., etc. So, yeah, so it's more like an online workshop with some enhancements through having that, technology. But it does have the creativity of a World Cafe.
Thanks, Nivek. One of the questions that I know a lot of people who have logged on, and certainly how people were responding to the emails advertising this webinar, a lot of people were asking about how Synthetron's technology is being used specifically in Europe, because I know Synthetron's quite new to Australia, but it's been in Europe for some time. Would you be happy to talk about that for a little while?
Yeah, sure, Joanne. Synthetron was developed in Brussels, and it's now operating in a number of European, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, England, North America, Singapore, a range of, all around the world. Hadn't got here yet till now, but we've got the opportunity. And it's really a very flexible platform. So it's used, I think broadly you could say it's used for internal and external engagement. So for instance, in Belgium, it's mainly used by companies wanting to engage with their staff or their management around culture change, strategy change, that sort of thing. In the Netherlands, it's used with universities to sort of, discuss new academic issues. It's used in innovation labs. It's used for market research, in, reviewing restructuring proposals or, pilot restructurings in business with community. One of the ones I think people, listening in today might be interested in is a hybrid process that was used in Belgium, which was called the G1000, and people may already have heard of that. That was a major, I think it was about a year-long process to engage the whole of the country in identifying priorities for the future. And so it was a year-long process. There was a lot of different things happened to gain community input. But at the end, it was there was a full-day meeting of 1,000 people face-to-face talking about the key issues that had come up through the discussion over the year. And for each session, there was a presenter and then table discussions in the real-world sessions. And alongside that, there were, I think, about 7 or 8 Synthetron sessions held. And the reason there were so many was because they were held in 2 different languages concurrently, the 2 languages, that people speak in Belgium. And they watched a live streaming of the presentations that the people in the room heard, and then they had a discussion based on the similar questions to what the people in the room were discussing. And the outcomes from the online discussions fed straight back into the room. So at the end of a session, you've immediately got the high-level agreements, and you can produce those, put them up on the screen, and so they could actually feed in directly to the discussions in the room, and it worked really nicely. So the people participating enjoyed that because they didn't have to go. Plus, it meant that you doubled the number of people participating almost by, you had 1,000 in the room and you had 700 or 800 online. They not only got to talk about it and listen to the presentations, but their ideas were actually then incorporated in the process that was happening in the room. So, that was a really nice an example of a hybrid process.
And I know, Nivek, that you brought along a little bit of a video that was shown to some of the participants, both in Australia and in Belgium, and I'm guessing other countries as well, that just gives them a little bit of an introduction to what they need to do using the technology for the first time.
Yeah, there's an inspection video that sets out, it gives an overview of how the process works, and it's useful for people to look at it before they participate in a session. But it also, for people that don't even have a clue how it works, it gives you a bit of an idea about how it works in practice. So, if you want to show that.
Yeah, I'll just show that now, and we'll go from there.
Welcome to the Synthetron instruction video. Participating in a Synthetron discussion is easy and engaging. It takes about an hour and can be done from your own computer. A Synthetron discussion is completely anonymous, so you can feel free to contribute whatever you like. Just remember to stay on topic, to make a clear point, and to be courteous. In the next few minutes, we'll familiarize you with the main features of the online Synthetron discussion tool and how to use them effectively. Your views, opinions and ideas mean a lot to us. Together with those of the other people in the discussion, they can offer a valuable contribution to, for instance, better policies, decisions and actions in your workplace or neighborhood. Expressing your opinions, giving feedback on those of others and actively joining into the discussion is what a Synthetron session is all about. This is the screen where it all happens. Here, the discussion topics and subjects will appear. And here, you can express your views and ideas. This is also where you give feedback on the entries of others. Your contributions and those of the other people joining in the online brainstorm will appear here in the discussion window. And with the blue indicator, you can express your level of support for what others are saying on a sliding scale. If you have no view on a statement or do not find it relevant, you can score on Not Useful. When you feel strongly, score strongly. The orange indicator that appears after you score is the average view of the group. Actively joining in the discussion, giving feedback and expressing your support for views and ideas of others are the most important features in an online Synthetron discussion. Behind the scenes, a moderator will be making sure the discussion is going smoothly and providing you with the next discussion topic. Their suggestions and tips appear in blue. They are there to help you and ensure the discussion progresses. And this is how a Synthetron discussion actually works. First, take some time to read the discussion topic or question in this window. Then write your answer or express your views here. You will see your contribution and those of the other people in the discussion appear here in the discussion window. When you want to elaborate on a message in the discussion window, you can tick the relevant message, write your comments in the box below and send them. You will see that they are connected. It's very important to express your level of support for the views, ideas and thoughts of the other brainstormers by scoring them. You do this by moving the blue indicator to the appropriate position in the scoring window. You need to score all messages to stay in the discussion. After a little while, your ideas, views, thoughts and feedback, together with those of the other participants in the online discussion, will create Synthetrons. Synthetrons are views or conclusions that the people in the discussion feel strongly about. They will appear in bold typeface here in the discussion window. When the discussion on a particular question has reached a clear conclusion, the moderator will end this part of the online brainstorm and move to the next topic. Expressing your opinion, sharing your thoughts, contributing ideas and giving feedback on those of others. That's what an online Synthetron brainstorm is all about. Safely and anonymously from your own computer, contributing to big ideas and important discussions has never been so fast, engaging and easy. If you want to watch the instructional video again, just press the Start button. You can also transfer a version in higher resolution to your own computer by clicking the Download button. Enjoy being part of the next Synthetron brainstorm session.
So hopefully that's been of assistance or helpful to people, especially I know some people like to visually see how something works before they go any further. And if you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to jump into the chat room, and I'm sure that Nivek will be able to answer any more of your questions about that video or how Synthetron operates, or you know, if there are any other things that features or whatever that might be possible or have been used. In the meantime, we'll go into the second question that I really wanted to speak to Nivek about. And this is a question that I often get when I talk to people about community engagement, and this is this idea of bringing people together. And there's a quote that says, "A person is smart, people are dumb." I'm pretty sure it comes from Men in Black. And I was just interested to get Nivek's thoughts on groups of people. How do groups of people operate, and does it sort of decrease people's capacity to think about a topic or to think wisely about a topic?
Look, I think all the evidence you know, sort of is that it's in fact the opposite, although there are some prerequisites. So, you know, there's been a lot of research into group decision making, and generally it supports that sort of, you know, phrase, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's what the evidence shows. From a democratic perspective specifically, there's an academic in America called Helene Landemore, and she actually did her PhD on this and has produced a book called Democratic Reason, which goes into this. She looks at all the psychological evidence and looks at deliberative democracy and various things. And basically she argues that if you combine inclusive deliberation and universal suffrage, you get a gold standard of democracy because it maximises our chances of making the right choices. You know, that she bases that on two things. One, that to make good decisions, you need cognitive diversity, and that means you need to get a range of people, not, you know, all like-minded people. You need to get a broad range of people, and I think that's, you know, something that people in community engagement already are familiar with, the need to not just speak to, you know, one group of people or one type of person, and so that's sort of, you know, you need cognitive diversity, and you also, the second thing that you need is people who are able to speak honestly. So if you've got all this cognitive diversity but people are nervous or, you know, afraid to speak up, it won't, you know, you won't get the benefit of that. And from my perspective, that's where Synthetron really delivers over some other approaches, because people are anonymous, and that allows them to be very honest. They, you know, they don't feel that they need to hide that they've got a differing view to protect someone's feelings, or that they've got to, you know, they've got to worry that they might be, you know, spoken to later on about why did they say X, Y, or Z. And they can respond to other people honestly as well, not based on personalities or status or whatever. And the small virtual overlapping groups doesn't allow anybody to really hog the floor the way you might at a, you know, a big meeting. Someone a noisy person can hold the floor. So, yeah, look, the evidence is that if you get cognitive diversity and you get honesty, you actually get better outcomes through group decision making than you would through individual decision making. So, yeah, I mean, and I think I hope most of us in community engagement would support that view. That's why we do what we do, because we think that people should be listened to and that they've got value to add. So
it's really nice to know that there's quite a lot of evidence and research that says, you know, that the thing that people fear, which is sort of the mob mentality and the grumpy people in a public town hall discussion, is actually not necessarily what's going to happen when you do community engagement. That if you get some things right, so anonymity is one of them, and diversity, and specifically diversity in thinking patterns, so what you're saying, cognitive diversity, it sounds like those things are mean that you go from sort of the mob mentality that people get frightened of to what you could probably call really good community engagement. Is that a fair sort of answer to that?
And as I say, Helene did her PhD on this and she has a book, but she's also got an article which really nicely summarises it all, which is in the Journal of Public Deliberation. I can send you a link to that, but people would be able to find it, and that's an open access journal. And it's a really nice, easy to follow article that sort of summarises the evidence from, you know, psychological experiments, plus her own argument around, you know, the gold standard of democracy.
So I guess the next question is a little bit like the last one. I've been a bit mean to you, Nivek. I've thrown all of the anti-community engagement sort of comments that I've come across over the years, or anti-community engagement online questions, and asked you for your opinions on them. So this is another one that I come across quite commonly, especially when technology is being discussed. And, you know, people often use this phrase, garbage in, garbage out. And I thought it'd be really interesting to get your thoughts on what's the best way of avoiding getting sort of garbage information coming in when you consult online. What's the best way to avoid just getting data that's useless to you at the other end?
Look, I don't necessarily think that online, particularly when I'm thinking about Synthetron, is that different from face-to-face. The basics for me in any community engagement process is careful preparation. So when I'm doing preparing for a Synthetron session, there's 3 key elements to this, and the first one is to know why you're engaging with people. What is it that you want to know? What are you going to do with the outputs? It's no good just saying, I've got these questions to ask, because, you know, the questions may not work. It's better for a client or a government agency or whoever to be thinking about more broadly why they're doing it, what they want to know, and what would they do with the information when they get it. The second point is to have the right people involved, and obviously there's that cognitive diversity, but you also need to have people who either know something and or care about the issue involved, because otherwise, you know, if you just took the next 10 people walking past and asked them about, you know, sort of sewage in, you know, your local government area, they might not even live there, sewage may not be really their thing. But if you recruit carefully and you involve the right people, that can be very helpful. And then the final thing is to ask the right questions. And that's really converting the why you're engaging into, you know, the how. And I think that's really important. You know, they have to be carefully crafted to allow people to understand and respond and get the most out of it. And those 3 elements are really interrelated and they build on one another. In a Synthetron session, it's moderated using a detailed script that's been developed in advance with the client, but the script is very flexible so that we can quickly respond and easily change things if we need to. So if we were thinking that we'd have 10 minutes on a particular topic, but the people participating really interested, we can let that discussion go for longer. If we gave something, you know, 10 minutes, but everybody's wrapped up what they've got to say in 5 minutes, we can move on. We can test particular ideas that we think, if it doesn't come out in the group, but the client thinks, I'm sure they all think this, we can test that with them. And we can really respond as we go along, you know, using the flexible script to get the best out of the time. But it really is important when you've got people for an hour and at the end of that, they're gone, they're offline, that you have a really clear, well-designed script. And yeah, I think that's, what really, preparation and knowing what you're wanting to do and why is key to online, offline, virtually any community engagement.
Thanks, Nivek. I've had a number of people write to me, but none of them have asked questions or made comments. They've simply said things like, hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm here. So if anybody wants to write a question, we have about 3 or 4 minutes left that we can spend on question time. So I'll just give a few minutes or a few seconds for that, because obviously we can't continue on really. We're hoping to finish at 12:30. Yeah.
Perhaps while people are doing that, I can. One thing I think perhaps I haven't touched on as much is the outputs from a Synthetron session.
Yep.
I did mention that at the end of a session you've immediately got the high level agreements, whether they're strongly agree or strongly oppose, things that other participants have said. But we can do a very in-depth analysis of the discussions, and if we do polls where we ask people, something about their background, we can actually identify whether different cohorts have different points of view throughout the discussion. We can identify whether people's view changes from the beginning to the end, which from my background in citizens' juries, we know does happen. People, when they hear from other people and hear reasoned arguments, sometimes change their point of view. And we can look at things like where there's polar opposites, so half of the group is strongly opposed and half of the group is strongly in agreement. We can dig into those things, which, obviously in a normal workshop, you don't always know what's happened in the discussion and whether, someone's, what's been reported back really was the consensus of the group. So, yeah, there's a lot of potential in the reporting from a Synthetron as well.
Sure. Nivek, the first question that we've had come in, and we've got 2, which is probably good because we probably won't have much more time than that, but please, if you still do have a question, send it in, and even if we can't answer it during the session, we'll certainly answer afterwards. So the first question is from Julie, and she just asked, are there any councils that anyone knows about that is currently doing online consultation?
Well, I mean, most councils are using, your sort of bang the table software, which I think provides a really nice platform for non-real-time engagement, and it also provides, you're able to have libraries, discussion forums, people can submit submissions. So, this Synthetron doesn't replace that sort of a platform. What it does is provides a really nice way to actually have a discussion where the citizens talk to each other. For instance, the community get to hear what other people in the community think, and you get to actually find out what they agree on and disagree, where that can be a bit hard sometimes to actually pull that out of, people sort of posting a sentence here and maybe never going back into the site, or, different submissions coming in and you've got to make sense of them and decide where people agree. The Synthetron process allows the people to actually tell you, we agree with this, we don't agree with this, that sort of thing. So the reason I brought Synthetron to Australia is because there isn't actually another platform like it.
Nivek, we seem to be losing you there for a second. You seem to have frozen robot. We've had 2 more questions. One is from Karis saying, how do you recruit well? And the other one is from Neil, just asking about the technology for Synthetron for photographs and video functionality. And what I might do is, given that we're running out of time, I'll pass them both on to you and I'll get your answers, and we might post them on the video, which we will post at the end of the session. So thank you very much for coming, everybody, and thank you very much, Nivek. It's really exciting to talk to someone as passionate about technology and democracy. And we'll record those, we'll send this recording of the video out to everyone, and we'll also make sure with either the email or the link underneath or both. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nivek.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Joanne.